Hi, good evening. How was your day? Tonight, I have a quiet story for you about a boy named Yuto and a tiny snowman he finds on a hot summer day. Yuto's journey takes him to a magical land of snow where he meets new friends and learns something gentle and true, that no matter how far apart we may be, we are always connected by kindness, by memories, by heart. I hope this story wraps around you like a blanket of soft, white snow and helps you drift off into a peaceful, gentle sleep. Yuto and the Midsummer Snowman. It was a day so hot, it felt like everything might melt. Yuto came home from soccer practice, huffing and puffing all the way. Phew, it's so hot. His face and shirt were completely soaked. As soon as he got home, Yuto headed straight for the kitchen, looking for his favorite thing of all, ice cream. Freezer, freezer, he said to himself as he hurried to the kitchen. Yuto opened the door, and a wave of chilly air brushed softly against his face. That's when he noticed something strange. Round, white, and very small. A snowman. Huh? What's this? There it was, sitting quietly in the corner of the freezer. Yuto reached out gently to touch the little snowman. Whoosh! A cold wind swirled around him, and Yuto's body began to float. Then, everything turned a bright, snowy white. Yuto floated gently through the air, sliding on and on, farther and farther away. Then, a soft chill touched the bottom of his feet, and he landed ever so lightly. When he opened his eyes, he found himself in a place he had never seen before. A world covered in snow and ice. The air was cool and still. Everything was quiet. Simmering trees made of ice sparkled in the light. Big snow animals let out soft puffs of white breath, and delicate snowflakes danced gently around his feet. Where am I? Yuto whispered to himself. Just then, he heard a soft rustling sound behind him. When he turned around, a white fox was standing quietly on the snow. Its body was slender, its fur so clear it looked like it could melt into the air. The tips of its ears shimmered blue in the light. The fox looked up at Yuto with gentle eyes and said, "You came, Yuto." Yuto stared quietly at the fox. Its eyes were so kind, and somehow they felt familiar. "May I go with you?" Yuto asked in a soft voice. The fox gave a small smile and nodded. "My name is Frost. Come this way." His voice was calm and cool, like a breeze made of snow. Frost began walking across the snow, softly, smoothly, as if he were gliding. Youth followed behind, pressing each step gently into the snow. The forest was quiet and still. Icicles swayed gently between the snow-covered trees. After a while, Youth suddenly noticed something. His clothes had changed. He was now wearing a fluffy coat, puffy pants, and a white hat that covered his ears. How strange! But it's so warm, he said with a smile, pressing his hands over his ears. Without turning around, Frost spoke in his cool, gentle voice. You don't have to be afraid of the cold here. The two of them walked slowly along a path where the cold wind whispered. Before long, something appeared up ahead. A bridge made of ice. A sheet of clear, glassy ice stretched across the river like a delicate ribbon. Frost stepped onto it and walked across with quiet ease. Youth followed carefully, his feet making soft crunch, crunch sounds on the ice. He felt a little scared, but as long as he could see Frost's tail up ahead, he knew he would be okay. When they reached the other side, a small house made of snow came into view. It had a tiny chimney at the top, and from it rose a gentle puff of white smoke, curling softly into the sky. Frost stopped in front of the round little house. He tilted his head back towards the sky and let out a soft, echoing howl. Ow! It wasn't loud, but it rang gently through the air. Then, with a quiet creak, the round door slowly opened, and out peeked a small figure, an old wizard with a long white beard. He wore round glasses and a tall blue hat, and in his hand he had a curious staff with a tiny snowflake resting on top. This was Grandpa Blanc, a gentle wizard who lived deep in the snowy woods. He narrowed his eyes kindly as he looked at Yuto and smiled. You've come at last. I've been waiting for you, he said with a warm voice. Grandpa Blanc glanced towards the back of the house and spoke softly. Actually, the white horse who lives here with me, her name is Christy, has gotten hurt. She twisted her leg in the ice valley. Yuto picked past Grandpa Blanc. A beautiful white horse lay quietly on a blanket of snow. Her soft fur shimmered in the light, and one of her legs was wrapped in a sparkling cloth. She can't walk far like this anymore. If I could finish my healing potion, it might help her. But I'm still missing one last ingredient. Grandpa Blanc reached up to a shelf and took down a small glass jar. Inside, silver powder swirled gently like tiny snowflakes dancing in slow motion. Just one more thing, Grandpa Blanc said. If we can find an ice clover, the potion will be complete. But it only blooms deep in the ice forest, and I no longer have the strength to get there. He closed his eyes for a moment and whispered gently. So, I sent a tiny, tiny snowman into freezers all around the world, asking for help, hoping someone might find it. But in the end, you were the only one, Yuto. Yuto blinked, eyes wide with surprise. Just me? Grandpa Blanc slowly nodded. In the hush of that snowy stillness, Yuto clenched his little fists. Then, I have to go, he said softly. And then, he looked up with steady eyes. I'll go. I'll find it. Grandpa Blanc and Frost looked at Yuto, startled at first, then smiling just a little. Frost gave a quiet laugh and said, You really are a straight and shining heart. As Yuto was getting ready to leave, Frost spoke quietly beside him. I want to help Christy too. Yuto turned to look at him. Christy has been with me since I was just a baby, Frost said softly. On nights when I was small and shivering, she'd always wrap me gently in her warm, snowy mane. She is like family to me. Yuto nodded, quietly and firmly. Frost gazed off into the distance and said quietly, I know where the ice clover grows. But to get there, you need a special guide. Yuto tilted his head. A guide? A white ladybug, Frost replied. They only appear to humans, and only to those with a truly kind and honest heart. Yuto looked at him, puzzled. Only humans with kind hearts? Frost glanced away, a little shy. I've never been able to see one myself, but I think you might. Yuto slipped his hands into his pockets and murmured, I wonder if I really can. Frost smiled gently and stepped closer. He brushed Yuto's feet with his soft, fluffy tail. Come on, let's go. The two of them walked deeper into the forest, their steps crunching softly through the snow. After a while, as the world around them grew darker, they came to a small clearing where the trees opened up, revealing the night sky above. Frost gently settled down on the snow. Yuto sat beside him. They gazed up at the still, quiet sky. It was black and vast, stretching far, far into the distance. Then, Yuto noticed something in the stars. Look! 3 stars were shining above, forming a perfect triangle in the sky. The summer triangle. Yuto whispered the words. It's here too. Even though the seasons, the world, everything is different. Somehow, we are still connected. Frost said nothing, but beside Yuto, he quietly looked up at the very same sky. As the two walked through the icy forest, something drifted silently through the still air, even though there was no wind. Yuto squinted into the distance, and just ahead, he saw it. A glowing white ladybug floating gently in the air. Oh! He stopped in his tracks without thinking. It was small and snow-white, its wings clear and delicate like falling snow. Quietly, it drifted through the air. Yuto's heart gave a loud thump. I can see it. I really can see it. He turned to Frost and gave him a firm nod. Slowly, Yuto reached out his hand. The ladybug twirled in the air, then began to fly quietly toward the deeper part of the forest. It's like it's saying, "Follow me," Yuto whispered softly. Frost didn't say a word. He simply nodded. The two of them followed the glowing ladybug, their feet crunching gently in the snow. The air was still, as if even the wind and sound had fallen asleep. But inside Yuto's heart, a small, steady flame had begun to glow, quiet and warm, guiding him forward. They had been walking for a while, following the glowing white ladybug through the snow. Then suddenly, Yuto stopped in his tracks. In front of them stood a gentle, snow-covered hill. And at the very top, a tiny shimmer, like a flicker of light, sparkled in the distance. Up there, Yuto whispered quietly. Slowly, step by step, they climbed the snowy hill together. And when they reached the top, there it was. A single clover, its leaves spread wide like wings of delicate eyes, blooming quietly in the snow. It looked as if it might disappear at the slightest touch. So fragile, so thin, and yet so beautiful. The clover was blooming quietly on a high ledge where icicles hung like crystal curtains. Even when Yuto reached up, he was still far from touching it. But neither of them gave up. Frost began scraping the snow with his front paws, gathering it into a small mound beneath Yuto's feet. Yuto carefully stepped onto the pile, rising up on his tiptoes, and looked up at the clover above him. Frost looked up at Yuto and gently swayed his tail. If it's now, I think you can reach it. Yuto nodded, then slowly reached out his hand toward the clover with icy wings. Just before his fingers touched it, the clover let out a soft glow and gently floated down, landing in the palm of his hand. Yuto and Frost held the precious clover close and hurried through the snowy forest. Christy was waiting. They wanted her to get better soon. That hope pushed them forward, step by step. But the path through the ice-covered forest was slippery, uneven, and hard to walk. Yuto moved carefully, making sure not to fall and never letting the clover get hurt. Frost stayed right beside him, quietly walking in step. From time to time, he went ahead to gently move aside any branches or vines so you wouldn't trip. As the two of them climbed over the snowy hill, the air around them slowly began to change. The ground felt less slippery beneath their feet, and the soft light began to filter through the trees. It was the magic of Grandpa Blanc. The closer they got to his house, the more the path seemed to open gently just for them. And then, beyond the edge of the forest, Yuto, Frost, Grandpa Blanc stood in front of the small house, waving both arms high in the air. You made it back. Christy is inside, resting now. After taking the medicine, Christy nestled into the snowy blanket, her breathing slowly becoming calm and steady. Grandpa Blanc let out a soft sigh of relief and squinted his eyes with a gentle smile. She'll be just fine now. A good rest is all she needs, and she'll be running again in no time. Frost sat down quietly beside Christy and gently stroked her snowy mane. Then he whispered softly, "Hey, Christy, in the snowy valley, I watched the stars with Yuto. He told me it's called the Summer Triangle. 3 bright stars forming a perfect triangle in the pitch black sky. It was beautiful. So beautiful." Christy gave a soft snort, her eyes still closed. Frost smiled and said, "When you are all better, let's go there together. This time, Grandpa can ride on your back, Christy, and I'll walk right beside you." Time passed. Yuto still thinks back now and then to that day in the land of ice. Every time he opens a freezer, he finds himself wondering, what if the little snowman is sitting there again? And he peeks inside, just to be sure. But all he ever finds are the usual ice cubes and frozen treats. The snowman is never there. "I bet they are all doing okay," he whispers with a soft smile and gently closes the freezer door. That night, Yuto stepped out onto the balcony and looked up at the sky. And there it was, the very same summer triangle, glowing quietly, gently, just like before. That's the end of tonight's story. Thank you for listening. Sweet dreams. Good night.